Then you're gonna say, sound check 1, 2, 3, sound check 1, 2, 3.
And today I want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick Day. And the people that wore green, I want to say an extra St. Patrick Day. So it's nice to see green around. So yeah, there you go. So thank you. And welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting, March 17, 2025. As we have quorum present by today's meeting, I would like to call this meeting to order. But first of all, saying council, we have Councillor Ted McMeekin, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Kassar, Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Taddison, Councillor Beatty, and Councillor Maureen Wilson. Virtual, we have Councillor Wang, Councillor Spadafora, Councillor Wilson, Alex Wilson, and Councillor Cameron Crutch. All right. As a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during the meeting. Approval of the agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda presented? Councillor Francis, Councillor Beatty, thank you. Show of hands. Thank you, everybody. Okay, declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest? I don't see any. Number 5, approval of the minutes of previous meeting. February 24th, 2025. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous minutes? Councillor McMeekin, Councillor Jackson, thank you. Is there any discussions? I don't see any, so show of hand, please. Okay, and it's carried. Thank you. Okay, items of information. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put the following items of information on the floor? 7.1, first a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Kassar, Councillor Maureen Wilson, thank you. 7.1, Waste Management Subcommittee minutes, February 18th, 2025. Okay, everybody, any questions? No speakers list. 7.2, Annual Drinking Water Report. I don't see anyone. Councillor Jackson.
Sorry, Chairwoman Pauls. Good afternoon. Maybe we just get from staff how important our drinking water, our continuous, safe, healthy drinking water is for our community. Maybe staff could just give us a cursory update on this report, please, for public consumption. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, staff.
Good afternoon, through the chair, Shane McCauley, Director of Water and Wastewater Operations, sitting in for Nick Winters today. This report, we're very pleased to be able to present every year. It highlights the great work that Hamilton Water staff does each year to maintain the safety of our drinking water system. There's over 48,000 individual tests that are done each year to ensure that the safety and that it is monitored continually. And as you'll see through the report, there are no orders from the ministry. Our ratings continue to be excellent, and there's no issues or concerns from our report that are highlighted.
Thank you very much, Director McCauley, and I think that's important for our community overall to know what a top priority this is for Hamilton Water and for this council. Thank you, Chairwoman Pauls.
Thank you. And I have my glass of water here. I love it. Best water. Okay, Councillor McMeekin.
Yes, thanks. I just want to echo Councillor Jackson's comments and compliments. You know, one of the presumably most difficult things to communicate to constituents has to do with water rates and asset management and stormwater and those kinds of issues. And I've taken to reminding the people I'm privileged to represent, there's only 5% fresh water in the world. And we're fortunate that in Canada, you know, we have access and hopefully control of about 21% of it. And it's really, really important, particularly given some of the work that we're seeing evolve out of the neighborhood to the south of us, particularly around accessing our water resources. Not a lot of detail, unfortunately. So I just want to say thanks for that. This is really important stuff. I make a case as often as I can that I'm quite prepared to pay $2 extra a week to have clean, drinkable water, that there are half the world doesn't have that privilege, and we're very fortunate to be in this situation we are with the professional team that we have that push us hard to make sure that the major advantage we have around clean, drinkable, potable, healthy water is part of our city legacy. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your words. Very encouraging. Okay, I don't see it. Oh, there's no one. Councillor Beatty or Councillor Tadas? I can't see Councillor. It's not on here. Oh, Tadas. Yeah.
Always just interested in the rural component. And could you share with us for public consumption some of the differences between the operations of the rural water as opposed to the city ones at Winona and 50 Road? Or sorry, at Woodward and 50 Road.
Certainly through the chair. So our rural systems are well-based systems as opposed to the Woodward system that we refer to for the Greater Hamilton, and the 50 Road system are lake-based systems. And they have different treatment depending on the ground water that's there, and they are chlorinated systems that are inspected and tested regularly and are operating very well.
So just in terms of the initial water, like, so is it more iron in that water? Is there more sulfur in that water? Some of the things that they're trying to remove to bring the best water to those residents as well?
Through the chair, I guess the most notable one is the Linden drinking water, the well system there, where we have the hydrogen sulfide, and we do use a carbon dioxide chemical to remove that along with air scrubbers so that the water is as high quality as possible.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so I don't see anyone else. 7.3, accessibility transportation services performance. Okay, I don't see anyone. Thank you. Okay, all in favor to receive these items, vote by show of hands, please. Okay, thank you. 7.4, Blue Box Transition. Angela Story, Director, Waste Management, will provide the presentation. Thank you, Angela.
Great. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. To the chair and to the councillors here at Public Works Committee. I know everyone here, but my name is Angela Story and I'm the Director of Waste Management, and I'm here today to provide you with an update on Blue Box Transition, which, if you can imagine, is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Before I switch slides, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize and thank the very dedicated group of waste management professionals who have gotten us to this point. For some, it's been almost 4 years since we started talking about transition. Thank you to our managers, Ryan Kent, Joel McCormick, and Rob Connolly, our senior project manager, Glenn Watt, who's meticulously planned out every milestone along the way, and our project manager of community outreach, Jackie Colangelo, who has worked with corporate communications to ensure that our residents are prepared and aware for transition. There are other subject matter experts and project managers who lent their talents on specific tasks required, but there are too many to name. And one final thank you to other municipalities who transitioned before us. We had the opportunity to take their lessons learned and make ours a great implementation. So to get us started, I'll just let you know some of the items that we're going to be talking about today. So I'll give a little background, touch on some key dates, talk about the eligible versus non-eligible sources, some timeframes and decisions that have already been made, communication that I just mentioned, and who is doing what, so you'll know what to do if anything comes your way. As you'll recall, it was in June of 2021 that the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks announced that transition of Blue Box would be happening in the province of Ontario. All 444 municipalities and First Nation communities are transitioning to extended producer responsibility for the Blue Box program. The key deliverable for the ministry is to have a more efficient, province-wide Blue Box program, which would include a common collection system where there would be harmonized, acceptable items. The collection methods would be more efficient for the collectors. And the producers of paper and plastic packaging would be able to make better packaging because they're responsible for the end product now. The Blue Box program is actually moving from a 50% funded to 100% funded model. The transition dates range from July 2023 to December 31st, 2025. So Hamilton's really in that last third of the municipalities that are transitioning. And you may have heard the terms Circular Materials Ontario. They're a not-for-profit or producer responsible organization that the producers of packaging have tasked with the Blue Box transition. So some key dates for Hamilton. We have a transition date, which I mentioned is April 1st, 2025. And on this date, the City of Hamilton is no longer operationally or financially responsible for Blue Box collection and processing of recyclable material for eligible sources. Then there's a transition period. So that's what we're entering into. And so the transition period for every municipality was their date of transition until December 31st, 2025. So some municipalities like Toronto and London, their transition date was in July of 2023. So their transition ran 2.5 years. Our transition will be 9 months. And in that period, you'll see here that there's no changes to collection days or the items that will be accepted in the Blue Boxes. Residents will need to obtain replacement Blue Boxes from GFL Environmental Inc., who is the contractor that Circular Materials has contracted with for our area, or they can buy them at a retail store. Inquiries related to recycling and missed recycling will also go to GFL. Post-transition, so that's January 1st, 2026. At that time, all municipalities will have transitioned, and the Ontario-wide Blue Box program will be in place. The collection day, the collection method, and the acceptable item list could change. I've mentioned in a couple of spots sources. So the Blue Box regulation defines what sources of Blue Box material are part of the new Blue Box program. These properties are referred as eligible sources. In the bottom graphic on the left, you see single-family homes, seasonal dwellings, multi-res buildings, public and private schools, specified not-for-profit retirement and long-term care homes, and specified public spaces. Properties not deemed eligible are referred to as non-eligible sources and include businesses, city facilities, daycares, places of worship. The next slide just takes us back to just a month or so ago when we were talking about budget. I did get a couple of questions related to the Blue Box program. And so you'll see here that in 2024, the budget for the recycling program, so collection and processing, was just under $11 million. And you'll see in 2025, the budget for recycling is around $4.4 million. The reason we still have a budget for 2025 is, of course, we're responsible for the first quarter of the year. Plus, we've had a couple of reports this year, one being to continue non-eligible sources in 2025 until the end of the year, and also to continue to have our depots open at the Community Recycling Centre for blue box materials. So there's a few things that we still have to pay for in 2025. But you will see the overall savings related to transition is around $6.6 million. So looking at those timeframes, I'll just run through some of the items that are changing and not changing. So what's on the changing list? We've done a number of contract amendments. We've had to update our collection contract because recycling is being pulled out, but garbage and the other programs are still staying in. We've had to update our hauling contract with Waste Connections, who looks after our transfer stations, because they take recyclable materials from the transfer stations and community recycling centres to the MRF. And we've had to end our processing contract for the recyclable processing lines down at the MRF. I did already mention, but residents will need to contact GFL for missed recycling and other recycling inquiries. They'll need to contact GFL to replace a broken blue box or a blue cart for an apartment building. Residents will need to purchase additional blue boxes at a retail store. That's new for Hamilton. We have historically provided as many blue boxes as needed to allow residents to have a successful blue box set out. So this is a change for residents. New surveys in apartment buildings will still have brand new recycling setup done through GFL. Bulky rigid plastic, those are the big tubs, Rubbermaid tubs, big plastic toys, buckets, things like that, in one of the reports we brought forward, are no longer accepted at community recycling centres. And another report that we brought forward confirmed that commercial cardboard is no longer accepted at transfer stations. What is not changing between April 1st and December 31st? The collection days are remaining the same. Acceptable blue box materials will remain the same. Residents will continue to use one blue box for containers and one blue box for papers. Recycling left at the curb after collection will be enforced under the waste bylaw. Businesses and other non-eligible sources will continue to receive blue box collection. I just mentioned that. Residents can still drop off blue box materials at our CRCs. And we have put in a few orders for blue boxes to have them available, especially for people now that they're starting to see the communications. It'll say, if you need a blue box, do this. So anybody who requests blue boxes up to March 31st, we have enough blue boxes to make sure that everybody can get what they need. And if you have any sort of like urgent situations after April 1st, as long as we've still got supplies, we will help out. This slide is also during transition. I just kind of separated it out because it's a little bit related to money. So we have some agreements with Circular Materials for both education and operating our community recycling centres between April 1st and December 31st. So as an example, for us to continue promoting and educating, you've seen our waste guide, I've dropped up a postcard, our website's been updated, those kind of things. Circular Materials is actually giving us $355,000 to continue to do that this year. They are also covering $127,000 of our expenses to keep our bins at the community recycling centres. So anything that we've agreed to continue to do, that you've agreed to continue to fund, Circular Materials, we've worked with them on agreements to try to get back whatever we can from them. You'll see a couple of stranded assets there. The first stranded asset listed is blue carts. So those are the big recycling totes that we have at apartment buildings and some city facilities. So right now, those are the property of the city. They will become the property of GFL. So to do that, they need to buy them from us. So we have about 6,000 carts out there that GFL will be purchasing from us. And you'll recall the bottom line there, to maintain our contract costs for non-eligible or the business recycling for 2025 costs about $473 that we had in our report last year. So just a few things related to 2026. Circular Materials will be fully responsible for eligible sources. Circular Materials can change collection days and the collection method. And Circular Materials can change the acceptable item list. Beginning, what we still need to determine for 2026 is we have a report coming in May to talk about some options for non-eligible sources in 2026. We need to confirm services at our community recycling centres if we want to continue accepting that material there. We need to confirm public space recycling program with circular materials. They're working on that now. Thank you, Carrie. And need to confirm changes for the acceptable items and collection day, just so that we can continue to communicate that, right? We don't want to just completely not talk about recycling. It's helpful for residents to see things in one place. This list here just identifies some of the communications tactics that we've used to get us to this point. You'll see it started February 10th. Next week, a public service announcement will go out. Hopefully the local media will pick that up as well. The bottom bullet, specific to yourself, is about a council toolkit. We'll be sharing some specific FAQs with you, some social media graphics that you can use once the change has happened, and also the contact list. This here is just the postcard that I dropped off for you, and it's something that we're handing out now at our community recycling centres. If you go in and you drop off garbage and you cross the scale, they'll give out these postcards with receipts. We will also have them at municipal service centres, some libraries, some rec centres, so people can get that information. And finally, the contact info. So for yourself, and it'll be in the toolkit, of course. Here's how you get a hold, or here's how your residents will get a hold of GFL after April 1st. And please keep continuing to contact us for garbage, green bin, yard waste, and bulk items.
Thank you. That was very informative. I don't know if there's anyone on the speakers list. Oh, Councillor Jackson, you just came up on the list.
Thanks, Chair Pauls, and I think thanks, Director Story. Even though you've been preparing us, for those of us who have been on council for a while, for a few years now, this is a bombardment of changes. So I know you're the messenger delivering it, and I want to, Chair Pauls, immediately say, with these changes that are going to occur with the Blue Box, your leadership and Manager Joel McCormick, who I go to regularly on behalf of my community when problems occurred. You folks have been stellar and outstanding, and this is going to be a little hard adjustment piece, at least for my office. I won't speak for the rest of my colleagues, but at least for my office in terms of Chair Paul's getting direct city staff service, especially when there's been problems. Angela, Joel, and the rest of her team have been available for my office, and so that issues don't linger. Anyways, I did that long preamble to get to some questions. Thanks for your indulgence, Chair Pauls. So through you to Director Story, who is Circular Materials? Is this a new company that the province has set up? Can you educate me a bit on who this, enigma of Circular Materials are, please?
For sure. So through the chair, so when any extended producer responsibility transition happens, so whenever anything is going to be uploaded to producers, those producers of that packaging, in this case, need to have somebody to collect and process that material. So those producers went out and they said, who wants to be the producer responsible organizations to do this? 3 major players arrived. One was Circular Materials, one was a company named RYSE, R-Y-S-E, and another one is a Recycling and Recovery Authority, RRA. They're all kind of part of the business before, but they've started these PROs, or the pros, for this.
I see.
Then, so remember how we would do our data call every year and it would go to like RPRA? So we would submit our information to the province through that RPRA branch. RPRA assigned Circular Materials, one of the big 3 pros, to be the lead. So they've charged Circular Materials, a not-for-profit Canadian company, to handle transition, to handle getting collection contracts and processing contracts for all of the different geographical areas, so that it can be one common system by kind of funneling through one major player.
So Circular, and if I go over my time, just put me down for a second time, Chair Pauls, because I've got a few questions. So Circular Materials has replaced, if you will, your department in overseeing the Blue Box recycling materials to be collected?
Yeah, through the chair for the whole province.
Okay. Second question, you've clarified compost, green card, curbside is still within in-house with our department, correct?
Through the chair, 100%.
Wonderful. I'm confused on this non-eligible. Can you elaborate, please, Director Story? You're saying churches, mosques, all these are non-eligible. What do you mean, both now and going forward, through you, Chair Pauls, please?
Yeah, so through the chair, the producers have to meet recycling targets, right? So now that they're in charge of it, the RPRA, they've determined the targets that producers need to reach of how much material they need to collect. It was determined in the regulation that residential, schools, would be included, public space, I think was another one that I mentioned, will be included in how they think they're going to meet their targets. So they need enough material, and they think they can get that through residential, so households and apartment buildings. They think they can get that through seasonal dwellings, public and private schools, not-for-profit long-term care homes, and public space, that they don't need additional recyclables to meet those targets.
So what happens to those entities that circular materials doesn't need? Where do those folks go? Where do those entities go through you, Chair Pauls?
Yeah.
I'm still a bit confused, please.
That's okay. So through the chair, so non-eligible sources, we'll call them businesses for now, because a church is a business, a mosque is a business.
Yes.
So they would need to find their own recycling collector.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So they would have to contact recycling collectors to do that. So when we brought our report forward last year, our recommendation and your approval was for us to continue to service those non-eligible sources for the rest of this year.
Correct.
The reason we could do it for that time period is we're already under contract with GFL. So we could exercise those items in our current contract to say, can you please just continue these? Here's the whole address list of 3,000 addresses. Please continue to do that for us. We'll pay you for it. And council approved that. The reason it only goes until December 31st is because in 2026, the non-eligible source material cannot be collected along the same route or in the same truck as residential waste, residential recycling is being collected. So the report we're working on now for May is to come back to tell council how much it would cost in 2026 to be able to continue that service for our business customers.
Oh, so you're going to report back, Chair Pauls, through the Director Story, you're reporting back with options. Obviously, there'll hypothetically be a cost if we want to continue to help those because I can just imagine a mosque, a church, a temple, businesses, they're out on their own as of January 1st. Seek your own provider and supplier and pick up a company that's going to look at that's going to be mayhem, in my humble opinion, Director Story. Last, one more?
You have, yeah,
One
I'm
more?
just coming.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. That's wonderful. You're not like Councillor Taddison, who included everybody's time. That's okay, Councillor Taddison. I always enjoy talking to you. Anyways, so Chair Pauls, through you to Director Story, communication's got to be huge here. I can see come April 2nd, Director Story, we're going to just be overwhelmed. I'm speaking for my community. The change is going to be enormous. We're going to be overwhelmed, and the expectation will be the municipality is still delivering the service. So hopefully you and Manager McCormick, you're not going anywhere, because I see a lot of frustration and confusion out in the community for weeks and maybe a few months into the new process. That's my last question for now. Any comment on that, Director?
Yeah, through the chair. So I did note there that we did start our communications program in February. So we started to kind of slow roll it on social media, get sort of the knowledge out there. Our primary, as you know, source of advertising that we have in Waste is our annual guide. So this went out the first week of March, very clearly on the front this year, which is different, talking about recycling versus garbage. We still have the what goes where in there for recycling. We have a page on what transition is, etc. Our Blue Box Transition website is up and running. So when people click on, we've got lots of engagement on social media people kind of clicking on the posts on Facebook and on Instagram and going to the website and reading that. The other piece was the postcard, which I mentioned, and this is going to be going out every time you cross a scale at the transfer station for the next few weeks. People will get a hard copy of this. They can also pick it up at the libraries, rec centers, and municipal service centers. We have some posters in municipal service centers. We certainly know that folks that especially live in the surrounding, not downtown or not Hamilton Mountain, a lot of them utilize the municipal service centers. We've got posters in there. We're telling people if you need blue boxes, please take them now to make sure that you have them so that you don't have to go through the process of getting one following transition. The other thing that we're doing is working with the customer contact center. So when you call 546 City, they're going to have an upfront message that says, if you're calling about recycling, please contact GFL with the phone number. Not everybody has a pen handy. So if they get through to the customer contact center reps at the city, they will provide the information to the callers, as they always have, and they'll send the caller off to GFL. They'll also track it for us. So we're going to be able to know all of the contacts that have come into the call center related to recycling. So if we need to edit any of our communications or target something out there, we'll be able to do that.
Okay, my concluding comment, Director Story. In my community, I haven't had a single constituent talk about your new calendar with the new changes coming yet. People got through 3 major snowstorms, etc. I'm still thinking this is going to be a major shock after April 1st, but we've got 8 more months still, correct, where we're somewhat involved.
Yeah, through the chair, yes. And especially when we talk about that transition period about what is not changing, it's very important to, like, if I'm a resident, if my garbage day was Tuesday, my recycling day is still Tuesday.
Correct.
If I could put this in the blue box before, I can put this in the blue box now.
Correct.
So the goal is to not have any more OOP stickers that would be applied by the recycling collector to blue boxes than are applied today. So the fact that there's the transition period where it's a lot the same, unless you need a blue box, is really the change there. And if you have a concern with your blue box. So from us, Joel, Ryan, Manager Rob Connolly as well, anything that comes through to us as an escalation,
yes,
we can handle that.
You can still help out that way?
Yes, we'll be able to redirect as needed.
Okay.
We will not go out and collect recycling because it's not our product, of course. But there's also, and I didn't note it in the presentation today, because the goal is, because GFL was our collector and GFL will be our collector, we're hoping that continuity as well will be positive for the residents. The same trucks are going down the same streets, which is great. But if there's an issue with GFL at any time, we would go, the escalation for that would be to Circular Materials, because they're basically the manager of that contract. So we have contacts to be able to reach out to if we need to.
Director Story, thank you for all the elaborate explanations, thorough answers to my questions. Please understand, I'm still nervous.
Sure.
Thanks, Chair Pauls.
There's a lot of changes happening, isn't it, this year? Anyways, Councillor Crutch, please.
Thanks. I really appreciate the amount of advance notice that you gave everybody for this. Not a surprise to me, and I hope not too much to residents that these changes are coming. Wanted to ask you specifically about information you posted on slide 4, and I'll read it out just to make it easy. It says the city is no longer operationally or financially responsible for blue box collection and processing of recycling material for eligible sources. And then later on, you kind of talk about the savings that the city will see as a result of this, which looks like about $6.6 million in savings. And that's part of what the province said in 2021 when they were rolling this out, was that this is going to provide savings to municipalities and so on, and centralized efforts. How will this change, though, if we're not operationally or financially responsible, right? Are we going to have the same staff complement for recycling that we have now? Will those folks be doing other work in our city? Like, what does that look like organizationally? That's my only question for you about how we understand the organizational changes inside the city.
Director?
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Crutch, thank you very much. So the recycling program today is 100% contractual. So it's collected contractually and it's processed contractually. That's why we are seeing those significant changes. We do have a couple of positions that do participate in recycling things. So our project manager of contracts would be our key contact to connect with GFL whenever we need them to today. They also have to run the 50% of the city that's contracted for garbage, bulk, yard waste, and green bin. So we anticipate they'll continue to be just as busy without the recycling component. And it will also allow us, to look at the job description after, a little bit of time. As Councillor Jackson mentions, it's going to take a little bit for everybody to get used to. But we have somebody that works with that person as well that's out on the streets, looking in blue boxes, before the collectors come by, et cetera. They do audits, things like that. So they'll really be focusing more on the other programs that we maybe haven't been able to put as much attention to over the last few years.
So primarily you're saying there's kind of one role who will still continue to be overseeing these kinds of contracts and will continue to do that work. And then over time, as the transition period goes on, you see what the workload looks like, you're going to transition that person to doing perhaps other duties to compensate for the fact that we don't have them doing as much with this kind of thing.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's my only question. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you. I too am very appreciative of all the work and the information, and I'm going to fully expose my ignorance here. I'm just trying to better understand more of a longitudinal financial risk or opportunity that might avail itself to the municipality. So my understanding of recyclable materials is that which is deemed recyclable is primarily determined by the marketplace out there. So in the past, we've had discussions about, well, why is this, one day eligible and then the other day not? And often it's, well, China doesn't value that or it's not accepted on the market. Could you just, am I correct in that through the chair?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Wilson, you are correct in that. So we do have in our contract with our recycling processor today, they are responsible for finding those markets on our behalf. We don't go out and look for those markets because they are pretty traditional and pretty standard. You would see if you're walking through the recycling facility, sometimes there's more material piling up in one category than another. So we do inventories, of course, weekly on the material that's on the floor. And if we were to say to our contractor, how come all that rigid plastic is sitting there? Like, oh, the market is really low for that right now. We hear through economists that material is going to come up in value, so we're going to wait and bale it and send it out a little bit later. So they're trying to capitalize on those market shifts as well. You may have noticed in the last few years, just through our budget presentation, we had really big recycling revenue years 4 and 5 years ago, and then they really fell off 2 and 3 years ago. So last year, going into the 2024 budget, we tried to not base it on a 5-year average because we were always coming in lower than our budget. So last year we did it more on sort of what we really think it would be, and we came in double our budget from a revenue target perspective because that's just the volatility of that market. One of the benefits that I did mention that we're hopeful to come out of Blue Box transition is that common collection system, is that producers will be responsible for ensuring they're making the packaging that should be and will be recyclable. So instead of making that styrofoam plate, maybe they make it out of something else so that they will have the ability to make that into something else and be able to recycle it.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. So I think you've just dispelled perhaps a concern I had, which was this. We have landfills are grossly expensive to open a new one and need a lot of time. And so if the market has always overseen or been a determinant in what actually goes in or goes out, that risk it's not any greater because it's still in the hands of the market, meaning are we giving more of a say to the market and the producers, and therefore are we any further exposed on they can determine instead of products A, B, and C being recyclable, only A, and so presumably B and C have to go to the landfill. which is not a cost savings at all to us. It's actually a shift in cost. Could you help me understand whether there's a risk or not?
Yep, through the chair, one of the other items that they identified in the transition is that more items should be recyclable. So they're not looking to remove items. There will be some situational items municipality to municipality because we might have done something different. For example, we accept books. In the new world, they don't accept books. But if they're pages without a spine, they would be recyclable as paper. So that would be one of the items that we would see coming out of our program because they're not accepting them in the new transition program, but they have identified in their literature and in our presentations that we've attended that the goal is to have more recyclable products, not less. The other thing I might note is, and I think we talked about it maybe last year in our in one of our reports, is if we processed 36,000 tons of recyclables last year, that was actually recycled, we also had 4,000 tons of residue. So residue is a material that goes through the lines, either is, missed because the process is so fast, or it was contaminated, wet, etc., and ended up baled and taken to our landfill. So out of 40,000 tons, 10% was residue. So without having the recycling coming in at all, we've at least now eliminated that 4,000 tons of residue.
Thank you. Do I have time for
Yes,
everyone?
you do.
Okay, thank you. Can you just help me in the definition of, maybe this was asked, specified? Who defines that? What does that mean? May I help? Thank you.
Through the chair. So from the long-term care and retirement, it's not for profit. That's what deemed specified. So RPRA, who put out the regulation, that's who would have identified specified there. And then the other item that we're waiting on information on where it referenced specified is public spaces.
Yeah.
So here, we have our Jubilee containers that are street side. We have our creative outdoor advertising containers that might be attached to a bus stop. We've got recycling containers in some parks. So we're waiting to hear back from, it'll be Circular Materials who would make that determination to let us know what is specified. And for a municipality of our size, we are eligible for 1,500 public space containers come 2026.
Okay, thank you. I think I don't really understand this because my understanding is that we have, to your point, say we've got these benches at bus stops. They've got god-awful advertising on them, but they provide both a place of seating and a place to deposit waste. We contract out that infrastructure, and the bargain is, or the deal is, whomever receives the contract has to clean and dispose of the garbage in and around it and in the waste. So you're saying that, do we or do we, I'm trying to understand what, and my understanding is that the contract on those benches has been extended to the end of this year. So I'm trying to understand, are we waiting for that definition in order to determine what we do with these awful benches? Or are we, what is informing what on that, if I could ask?
Yeah, through the chair, and Director Ellis here, and as you can tell, and as you've kind of looked at her, that contract is run under the Transportation Division. However, as part of our project management of this transition, we have worked with Transportation and we have worked with Creative Outdoor on their items. So one of the differences for Creative Outdoor is that when they stop at one of their bins, generally they're a multi-sort container, they have garbage and they have recycling.
Right.
Usually they go over the scale at a transfer station, drop off the garbage, then they go back over the scale and the recycling would be what is left. Because it would not come from an eligible source, that recyclable material is no longer allowed to come up to the transfer station because we don't have commercial recycling available there. So Creative Outdoor is working on what their plan is. Will they be taking it to the receiving facility under the regulation? How, what will they be doing with that material? So that's something that we're working at with them. And again, that change doesn't happen until 2026. So that's one of the items that we're working on between now and then.
Thank you. I'll pursue that offline. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson, and I'll give you just 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. That's all I'll need because I am very expeditious with my time. The transition period, April 1st to 2025 to December 31st, 2025 says no changes to collection days. That's not my issue. For those of us who have municipal centers, that's where we give out the blue boxes. So are the blue boxes going to stop being given out on April 1st or December 31st of 2025?
Yeah, through the chair, that would be April 1st-ish. Because
Okay.
we have ordered that extra supply, we'll make sure that they have them until we run out.
Okay, thank you. So for those people, because there's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't ask me, where do we get a blue box, right? So has any consideration been given to, allow GFL to still use the municipal centers as a distribution for the blue boxes? Because again, this is a change in practice, which is going to come to a shock to people, and they're not going to be happy, especially with the increases in taxes. And they say, what, I got to go and buy this now too? So, and we do have $6 million of savings as well. So can't we, look to be customer oriented with this?
Director?
Yep, through the chair. So we're sort of using we're customer oriented in the sense that we've ordered a lot of them to try to kind of get us over the hump in that new time period. So GFL will be providing replacements for broken bins. They haven't communicated totally with us yet about how that will happen. My assumption, because this is how it happens with GFL in Niagara, is somebody would contact GFL, say, I have a broken bin. They'd say, your garbage day is Tuesday, leave it at the curb, we'll give you a new one when we come by. So that's likely the broken bin replacement process. The new bin, as I mentioned, which some people come to municipal service centers because they have a broken bin, but some people come to municipal service centers because they need another bin. It's the I need another bin people that will need to go and purchase them. So all of our dealings is with circular materials. So we wouldn't be able to talk to GFL about doing that, about them contracting with the municipal service centers. We would need to take that back to circular materials, which at this point, they've identified that it is not something that they are interested in doing.
Okay, thanks for that. So what I just heard then, GFL will not have a designated spot that people can drive to. It'll be from a call-in service, and then their people will deliver it right to the driveway. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you for
through
that.
the chair. And if that's again, there are contracts involved which aren't completely finished yet. So that's why some information we're not quite privy to, because those things haven't finished up between those other parties. So as soon as we have that, we'll clearly communicate that. Right now, we've just identified, please call GFL if you have a question about a bin.
Through the chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. And you still have 2 minutes left. Okay. Councillor Kassar.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Paulson. Thank you for the presentation and the very helpful answers so far. I was just hoping you could color in a little bit of one of the answers you gave to Councillor Jackson's question, just on the eligible and non-eligible sources. You alluded to the producers who were required to collect a certain amount, and that's kind of where they drew a dividing line, and they did that by type of building. So could you just elaborate on what you can share around what quantities are they required to? How is that determined? What percentage of that is total recycling? Do we know that?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Kassar. I don't know that. So Ryan Kent, the manager of Waste Policy and Planning, he might be able to help me out.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Yeah, Ryan Kent, manager of Waste Policy Planning. The province has instituted targets for different recyclable materials for the producers to capture. So for example, paper products, they have to capture 80% of what they put into the market. So there's paper, rigid plastic, several other categories that they are required to meet. These are obviously, as Director Story mentioned, from eligible sources. That's the only thing that the regulation requires them to collect from. There's no obligation for them to collect from non-eligible sources. So they will evaluate as transition happens, as they collect more material, whether or not they're hitting their targets that the province has set up for them. If they feel that they won't be hitting their targets, they may be looking for more material, but we couldn't really speak to that at this point because there's no agreements in place. But there are targets put in the regulation that the province has established that they do have to meet.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Gives me a sense. So the key point there is it's provincial regulation that's determining this. The city's not deciding it, as you mentioned, Director Story. It's a provincial-wide change, and we're on the kind of last third of it, but we're not making those decisions. They're dictated by the province. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just note through the chair that when we bring our non-eligible report forward in May, we will include a municipal scan sort of what other people are doing. We did the same when we brought our non-eligible report during transition. At that point, there were a number of municipalities that were undecided that we had polled, maybe 14, and then half, maybe 5 of the other 10 said yes, they were continuing to service in transition, and the other half said that they weren't. So it was kind of a mixed bag there, but we continue to update all of our municipal scan information, and we'll share that as well.
Thank you. Councillor Francis, can you please take the chair?
Go ahead.
I just have 1 or 2 questions here. You said that in May you're going to be coming back with a report. I see that under the budget, it says we're saving $6 million, but in 2026, we'll be saving $11 million. Is that correct?
So through the chair, the program cost $11 million in 2024.
Right.
It cost $4.4 million in 2025. So our savings from 24 to 25 is $6.6 million. So our base going into 2026 would be $4.4 million. So depending on what services through our reports this year council approves to continue, that would come off of the 4.4. But if we got out of the business in its entirety on January 1st, 2026, you should see a further reduction of $4.4 million.
Okay. I thought maybe we'd save $11 million, but I read it wrong. Also, so we'll have that report coming. I'm just wondering, with the eligible sources and non-eligible sources, if we contract it out, do they have to pay for pickup? Like the churches and all that?
Yeah, so through Councillor Francis, to you, Councillor Pauls, with our report that approved non-eligible sources for this year, it was $473,000 that we've agreed to continue to budget for to collect those just over 3,000 properties. What is happening now, because I mentioned I think to Councillor Jackson, we have favorable contract rates today, which we're exercising during this transition period. It is expected when we come back in May, it will be a significant increase to continue to collect those because it won't be part of our contract. It will be going out and getting a new contract essentially, if that's the route that we choose to do. So we'll have, we're just kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's now on those.
That's great. Just curiosity, how much does a blue box cost?
Through the chair, so folks that I know in other municipalities who have already transitioned are paying between $22 and $25 at a retail store.
So will GFL charge that?
Through the chair, GFL will not be selling blue boxes. So if it's a broken blue box that you're trading, there will be no cost. And if it's a new blue box or an additional blue box that you need, you can't get it from GFL. You have to go to a store and buy it.
Oh, you have to go. So that's an extra cost. Yeah, that's going to be a big change. I know I deliver blue boxes all the time. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll take the chair back. Oh, yeah, Councillor Francis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Pauls. And I know we spoke about this during the budget, but on page 6, I just want to, because I've received a number of emails from my residents over the past couple weeks when this started getting flushed out. Can you just speak to, again, I know you've already spoken to this during the budget, but can you speak to, again, the cost savings of where that's being applied and how it's being applied to the budget? Through you, Chair?
Yeah, sure, through the chair. So what you would have seen on slide 6 is the $6.6 million in savings in 2025. So that would have been in the waste management budget. Of course, we have other programs and other contracts. So our other contracts and employee kind of related costs that are in other contracts, they went up by $4 million this year. So 6.6 minus the 4, we our Waste Management Division budget came in at just at around $2.89 million in savings. And I've been getting a lot of emails too and responding to residents on that. That savings was just applied to the corporate budget. So it didn't come necessarily off of waste specifically. So when it went into the bigger pot, that $2 million came off of the corporate savings.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I've got a great answer I can provide to all the people that are emailing me now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, there's no one else on the speakers list, so I need actually a mover. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Oh, Councillor Beattie, Councillor Francis, thank you. We will show of hands to receive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again, Angela. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 9. 9.1 has been withdrawn, so we'll go to 9.2. Rymal Road Municipal Class Environmental Assessment, Upper James Street to Dartnell Road. First of all, can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Jackson, Councillor Taddison. Okay, Jackie Kennedy is here, Director of Engineer Survey, will introduce the report.
Through the chair, my name is Dipankar Sharma. I am filling in for Jackie Kennedy. I'm the manager for infrastructure renewal.
Right.
So in front of you, we are excited to present a report for your consideration for Rymal Road EA completion. This has been on the books for a while. We are happy to bring this report to you. The report brings forward a planning exercise that we have completed for Rymal Road Municipal Class EA from Upper James to Dartnell. Rymal is an important corridor within City of Hamilton. It also helps carry over some spillover when we were doing maintenance on Lincoln Wren Hill. The report here in front of you is to ask for authorization to file a notice of completion and a 30-day review period with Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jackson, please.
Thanks, Chair Pauls, and thank you, Acting Director Dipankar Sharma, and also to Senior Project Manager Megan Salvucci, and of course, Director Jackie Kennedy. Really encouraged and delighted to see this report finally before us. Quick little history lesson. Last term of council, I think it was in 2020, now almost 5 years ago, that I was fortunate to get council support, primarily supported by you, Councillor Pauls, Councillor Danko as well in Ward 8, regarding the environmental assessment. I remember at that time it was about $300,000, got approved in the budget. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, finally, and I know the workload that Director Kennedy and her team have. So I'm grateful that this very important next step with the environmental assessments before us completed, now out for a 30-day comment period, and I'm sure advising as well the Ministry of Transportation and of Ontario as well. I can tell you that in my ward, and I'm sure, I won't speak for you, Councillor Pauls or Councillor Danko, but this last section from Dartnell, where we left off, about 5-6 years ago, from Dartnell to Upper Centennial Parkway was done about 6-7 years ago. Multimodal transportation, 5 lanes of traffic, both servicing the residential community of Upper Stony Creek and the Red Hill Business Park. And of course, from West 5th, Upper James, West 5th, all the way to Upper Paradise. That was done a number of years ago, expanding to 5 lanes. And here we are in this last very critical section, right in the heart of the South Mountain community from Dartnell to Upper James, the great need to provide continuity and complete the 5-lane expansion on Rymal, and it's just so desperately needed, Councillor Pauls, Chair Pauls. I can tell you I've been a big supporter of the BLAST network. And of course, Rymal Road is the S line of the BLAST network. And so this 5-lane expansion will definitely assist with the expansion of the HSR and the BLAST network as well, because currently it's only 3 lanes from Dartnell to Upper James. Don't forget as well, colleagues, that under the Truck Route Master Revised Plan, many now heavy trucks, 18-wheelers, the 5-axle plus, have left the downtown core, again, which I was very supportive of, now using the ring roads primarily of Red Hill and the Lincoln Alexander Parkway. They are getting more congested, backed up with additional truck traffic. Whatever happens in the future to the expansion, potentially, hypothetically, of the Lincoln Red Hill to 6 lanes, which they were always designed for 30, 40 years ago, that will be still to be deliberated on moving forward in the near future. So my point being that the Rymal expansion as a spillover for any time the Link Chair Pauls, the Red Hill are congested, backed up, closed, for any, God forbid, accidents have occurred for maintenance over a weekend. The Rymal Road expansion is a much-needed spillover as well, and to offload as well some of the truck traffic that is more and more using the Red Hill and the link. So for a variety of very critical reasons to the overall goods and movement in our city, to keep both jobs and investment flowing in the Red Hill Business Park, one section of mine, and for the rest of us from Upper Ottawa, basically, all the way to Upper James, for Ward 7 and Ward 8, the residential community. I know that the 3-lane traffic there is often backed up on Rymal, and the residential community is, the ones I've spoken to in my ward in the last election, we're hoping and looking forward to the eventual 5-lane expansion for the rest of Rymal Road to make it a total, complete, expanded corridor from Upper Centennial all the way over to Upper Paradise. So I'm strongly supportive, and fingers crossed that hopefully we get through the next 30-day environmental assessment study period with the ministry and public commenting period successfully, and can see staff report back further. Thanks, Chair Pauls.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I love your history every time, because you've been here the longest, so we get to hear the history of Rymal Road. So, okay, Councillor Kazar, please.
Thanks, Chair Pauls. I have a number of questions, so if I have to go on a second time, that's fine. Just let me know. My first question for staff is just around the cost. So this is an $88 million project, and what's available to us in this report, not having been privy to previous reports, it says we're trying to solve transportation issues or transportation challenges. So I would like to understand, what $88 million, how $88 million is being used and what specifically we're trying to solve beyond just the high-level issues or challenges, please, through you.
Okay, who's going to respond? Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Kazar. So the current cost is the cost D, Class D estimate that is provided to you. So the Rymal Road had been previously scheduled for reconstruction as it's coming to the end of its life. Through the planning study, what we do is we look at all the needs that are for the corridor. For example, we look at Vision Zero through a complete street length, through development applications, and for future growth. That being said, the complete overall estimate that we have currently is around $88 million. This will be funded through different sources, such as through our levy, through our rates, and through DCs. Those percentages have to be set. But as we go through a detailed design process, these estimates will be further refined. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, thanks. What I was trying to get at is, the consequence of current state versus what the 5-lane proposal, because I understand one of the challenges is traffic flow, and I know there's other ways other than expanding lanes to manage traffic flow, changes in intersections being one. But what I didn't hear is, specifically what the consequences are. And I know it's been expressed by engineers in, the average speed through a corridor, travel time, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if there's any further information to help justify the $88 million through you.
Through the chair to Councillor Kazar, so I get, so your question is regarding what was the justification on that cost estimate of $88 million. So currently, what is, when we go through the EA process, we talk to the community. The solutions that are presented in front of you, we go through different options. We presented to the community 3 options. So the current one that is in front of you is a 5-lane cross-section. And these cross-sections currently include AT facilities, active transportation facilities. It also has property impacts, which are very minimal. The majority of the property impacts are at the intersections, as you also mentioned. The intent, the reason behind the expansion and the widening of Rymel Road is, as Councillor Jackson previously mentioned, it's one of the most important corridors that we have. There's huge development potential around that corridor. It is also a truck route master plan. It also has a spillover, again, from Link and Red Hill. In addition, it is a pivotal part that crosses through Hamilton. In addition, what I would add to that is currently Rymel Road itself towards the sections that Councillor Jackson did talk about from Upper James to Dartnell. If you look at the condition of the road, it is low. It has a lower OCI. What that means is it is towards the end of its life. So hence the solution is looking at providing the best value for money. If we were to go reconstruct the road for as is, we wouldn't be looking at active transportation, we wouldn't be doing enhancements, safety enhancements to it, which is included in the part of this report.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay, I'll just continue asking on this, and then I'll come back on the second half for some other questions. Yeah, so thank you for that, Manager Shankar. So I understand the road needs to be reconstructed and it's more about the expansion that I was asking about. And I asked this similar question around the AGD Transportation Master Plan is, had a cost-benefit analysis been completed? I didn't see that in here. So I'll ask the same question here. Has the cost-benefit analysis been done for the recommended option?
Through the chair to Councillor Kossar, I have Megan Salvucci with me, who is the project lead for the project, so she can help answer that question.
Megan?
Thank you. Through the chair, Megan Salvucci, Senior Project Manager of Infrastructure, Programming and Planning. So through the EA, a cost-benefit analysis has been conducted for the various alternatives. So through the alternative solutions as well as the alternative designs, we have numbers that we looked at to weigh against the options. In terms of your question, which I believe is about going ahead or not going ahead with the project, the benefits of going ahead with the project outweigh the costs that we've proposed, as well as Dipankar noted a number of efficiencies with going ahead and why we need to go ahead with the project. There's also maintenance efficiencies. So for example, right now there's really inconsistent facilities, whether it's for driving lanes or active transportation facilities. So that combined with the fact that we need to go ahead just for the road life cycle in general, we believe the differences between maintaining the existing infrastructure and future are minimal in the grand comparison of things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to go second time? Do you have one more question or a few more? Okay. Councillor Janko, please.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. Really appreciate Councillor Jackson's thanking all the staff that were involved in this. I'm very much looking forward to this work getting into the capital plan for construction. Just so that the public is aware, the cross-section that's being proposed is 2 lanes each direction with a center turning lane and also an off-road multi-use trail. So just a question for staff. That's basically the same cross-section that we already have existing at either end. And what we're doing is connecting the middle part across the south end of the mountain so that there's a continuity from end to end, if I'm understanding the recommendations correctly.
Through the chair to Councillor Danko, that is correct.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you. And Just on the off-road multi-use trail, if staff could expand a little bit on that, because I think that's a really important part of the proposed design, that it doesn't include, there are no on-road bike lanes or cycling facilities. What we're doing is we're actually taking them off the road and putting them into their own dedicated multi-use trail. If staff could expand a little bit on why that specifically was the recommendation for this stretch of roadway.
Through the chair to Councillor Danko, during the EA planning process, the staff evaluated different options. One of the options was a multi-use pathway. The reason this was selected is to minimize the impacts on properties. It also provides multitudinal use, such as it can be used by cyclists and by pedestrians also. But one of the biggest reasons was to minimize the property impacts of having that separate bike lane.
Thank you. Question on timing for actual construction. So once the EA process is finalized, my understanding is that the capital is scheduled for 2028. When are we anticipating actually going to construction?
Through the chair to Councillor Danko, our anticipated timelines is we want to start detailed design this year. Mm-hmm. The tentative tender date would be around in 2028, and the earliest anticipated construction is in that year too.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Last question is just on future use for RIMAL. And I think Councillor Cassar was touching on this, that RIMAL is scheduled as part of the BLAST network. It's the S-line, which connects the Ancaster Business Park to the Confederation GO Station. So a very important future rapid transit corridor. So in the proposal that's before us today, that was considered as part of the EA, how is that future use considered?
Through the chair to Councillor Danko, I will refer this question to my colleague Megan Salvucci, who has done the analysis for S-line.
Through the chair, as part of the environmental assessment, we actually conducted a transit ridership assessment for the S-line. At this point in time, the S-line is not fully defined, or at the time of the start of the EA, so we took it upon ourselves to do an in-depth analysis at what the needs were now and in the future. So typically EAs only look at a 10-year planning horizon, but in the case of the S-line and knowing that the infrastructure we're going to be implementing will last well beyond the 10 years, we actually took a 30-year lens and looked out until 2050. So between now and 2051, no significant infrastructure needs were identified. However, we preserved space for elevated station features, more platforms, things like that. But understanding again that this is an opportunity for major reconstruction, the 5-lane cross-section offers an opportunity that in the future, should bus exclusive lanes be needed, we have that ability to implement them without another reconstruction project. So through the EA, we are also noting that additional assessment work should be done in a future year to reconfirm the S-line needs at that time, but we believe this design allows for that transition between now and when the S-line is in full force. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Councillor Danko?
Thank you. Yeah, that was my last question, just a really quick follow-up. Again, appreciate the thorough work that staff did, especially looking at a 30-year transportation needs review. I think it is important, especially considering our growth patterns for the city of Hamilton, that we are approving higher density growth along the South Mountain on the basis of transit-oriented corridors, that we're ready for that. And that is what's before us today. And just speaking on behalf of the residents of Ward 8, very much looking forward to getting this project underway, getting construction done, and increasing that transportation capacity along the spine of the South Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Danko. Councillor Tatis, no, Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just so I understand, in present dollars, this is $88 million, and then almost $1 million in annual operation and maintenance costs. Is that true?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson, that is correct.
Thank you. Could you just detail for me the exact distance between Upper James and Dartnell?
It is approximately 5 kilometers.
So thank you, so $88 million for 5 kilometers in present dollars. I heard a lot during the budget from some of my colleagues who are very, very confident that inflation was going to be ballooning the cost of LRT, but it's funny, I don't hear that today. So I want to explore not just the cost impact, but the ability to pay. So when we're doing our capital sheets, and I look back to the asset management map, which had a lot of red on it, how does a proposed new bill of 88 million plus a million annually, what gets done first in terms of our work? Is it rebuilding Fennel, or is it to just choose one street, or is it financing this? How do we calibrate that internally through the chair?
Through the chair, just so I do want to repeat your question. So the question is, how do we prioritize RIMO versus a Fennel, and how is the capital budget adjusted accordingly?
Yes, so I know this council has thankfully, my understanding, set out a 10-year timeline to get us all into a condition, I think, of good. And we're in year 2 of that for the recapitalization investment. But I am trying to understand, how does a new reconstruction or a new expansion, how do we as a corporation intend to prioritize those existing red streets with this, through the chair?
Through the chair, thank you for explaining the question, Councillor Wilson.
Tried my best.
Thank you. So RIMO, talking in perspective from asset management, RIMO is towards the end of its life, so it does need a reinvestment for reconstruction. So that is a part that has to happen. Now, how we do that reconstruction, do we do it with the current needs and looking at future needs? That would be the best value for many. Through this report, that's what the staff has completed and recommended.
Thank you. So it is in need of reconstruction at present. So if I've heard your answer, if I've understood your answers, you're looking ahead over a 30-year timeline. You're grabbing a lot of space in anticipation that the perhaps use of that space will be changing with the extension of the blast. I guess what I'm still not understanding is, how does this expenditure, what impact, if anything, does it have on our commitment to attacking and attaching our existing infrastructure road work?
Director?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson, so when you look at the overall network, one of the key aspects is prioritizing of the current assets that we have on where the investments should be made. That being said, RIMO, there are some major corridors that cross through Hamilton. RIMO is one of them. It is also in need of reconstruction. It has been identified as one of the key corridors through the EA findings that we did and through master plans. And those were the basic triggers that led to the completion of RIML EA and the following recommendations that are being made.
Councillor?
Thank you. Could you help me understand, I think in one of your answers, thank you, through the chair, I thought there was reference to was there a suggestion that there was going to be enrichment of assessment of land values along the corridor? There was some reference to development opportunities through the chair.
Director Sharma?
Through the chair, there is potential for more development when we do look at a 30-year overall period. We do consider the current growth patterns. I know we have Brian Hollingworth who can talk to the growth around RIML Road and that corridor itself. But it does provide additional value, additional land value when the road is widened, and it also enhances the corridor.
If Mr. Hollingworth is available, could I get a better insight into how this is going to uplift the land value?
Director Hollingsworth?
Yeah. Thank you.
Brian Hollingworth, can you hear me, Chair Pauls?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think there's a number of benefits to creating this multimodal transportation corridor for development. It connects the Red Hill Valley Business Park. It's a fairly well-developed corridor, but we're seeing a lot of kind of intensification, redevelopment of some larger parcels into more intensive uses. And it also connects well beyond the project at hand. So it connects towards the AAGD and really supports development throughout the city. As Dipankar noted, it's one of the key corridors. So I think there will be some uplift. How much is to be quantified, but there's a lot of benefits. And just in kind of creating a better transit corridor, a more active transportation supportive corridor, I think it will also help with stimulating some development.
Thank you, Director. And would you like to go in second time? Okay, thank you. Councillor Chattison, please.
I wholeheartedly support this. The road's end of life. It supports truck routes from the Red Hill and the AEGD industrial parks. That's going to keep trucks off the rural roads that are continually going back. It's going to be a great route. Currently, right now, both sides of RIML to the east and west have 5 lanes. Mm-hmm. This is a bottleneck. It's congestion beyond congestion at certain times of the day. So for all those reasons, and also the extension of the S line for the E-Blast network, for the buses, I support that. In line with the buses, with the S line, I do have a question. It basically said in there that, and Councillor Cassar and Councillor Danko alluded to this as well. The EA has been confirmed that while transit infrastructure improvements will be made through the upcoming works, such as larger platform shelters, dedicated transit lines are not required at this time, but current design will allow for future bus lines, correct? Okay, I see the nods. So if we're allowing for future lines, is that going to compromise the multi-use trail? Is that what you're going to use for that extra?
Director?
Through the chair to the councillor, the answer is no. So the multi-use trails stay where they are. What we have accommodated is as Megan Salvucci stated, we have accommodated the extra space within the right-of-way, and that is what will be used for future alignment.
Okay, thanks very much. I appreciate that clarity. And those bus lines, they're going to, like those transit lanes, I guess I'll call them, that's going to continue for the entire S line, all the way from Ancaster Garner Road down RIML and then down to Centennial as well. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct. I will, if I'll let Megan Salvucci add to it.
Through the chair. So we did look at the corridor overall, and as some of you may be aware, there's a Garner Road environmental assessment that's also looking at road improvement options down at the Ancaster end. So we are aiming for a consistent corridor. So again, looking at the matching up the active transportation facilities as well as the through lanes. So through the EA, those external lanes could potentially be transitioned to bus exclusive lanes. So I believe at this point, the constructed segments as well as the Rymel Road portion are recommending the 2 lanes each direction with the center turning lane, meaning the outside lanes could potentially, with more data in the future, be transitioned to bus lanes. Sorry.
Through the chair to the councillor, we also have Maureen Wilson, if she would like to add anything on the S line.
Director.
Thank you. Through the chair, Maureen Cousin-Heath, Director of Transit. Lots of good conversation today about the S-Line. As you know, it is one of the now 6 express routes that are part of the BlastX network. You will be hearing the fate of the S-Line in the soon-to-be delivered HSR Next, Moving Hamilton Forward growth plan that should be before this committee, let's say towards the end of April, optimistically. But the S-Line is on the horizon timeline to be fully built out by 2032. So this project timing sets us up nicely for when we would want to have buses operating every 10 minutes during peak period. And that's enough spoiler alerts for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Pattison.
Thanks for that. And then just one last question. It says, after construction, the annual operating and maintenance costs for the entire extent of the study area is predicted to be approximately $815,000 based on calculations. What's the current annual maintenance cost for the Rymel Road? Do you have that right now? Like, what's it cost currently? And is that like out of the ordinary because it's expanded, or is it just, you know, relatively the same?
Director Sherman.
Through the chair to councillor, I do not have the current cost of what it entails to maintain Rymel Road as of now. The cost that is in front of you is estimate that was completed during the EA process. The estimate is created by benchmarking through what our current maintenance costs on other streets similar to Rymel and through other Hamilton. But unfortunately, I do not have that number.
I would just, okay.
I can chime in too. So the cost estimate in the EA, like DePonker said, is just a cost estimate. So it's based on other municipalities and the amount they charge to operate and maintain roads. So the 815 is not on top of current maintenance. It's inclusive of current maintenance. However, our maintenance team does not keep track of individual streets and the costing to maintain those streets. However, we should also note that there are some efficiencies. So again, providing consistent facilities from start to end of the Rymel corridor will help expedite some of the maintenance. Even though there is added footprint, it doesn't necessarily add to added challenges to maintain. Thank you.
Okay, so just one point of clarification. So this estimated cost is just for the section that we're dealing from basically Dartnell over to Upper James, right? So it's basically the same road that exists from Dartnell over to Centennial, right? So I could later on get a cost estimate for that because we actually have that road now and we would have annual operating costs, correct?
Through the chair, councillor, that is correct.
Okay, thanks so much. I'll take that offline.
Oh, Director.
Hi there, good afternoon. Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So anything to do with maintenance and the operations cost, Councillor, I'm happy to get them because that's something that transportation tracks with regards to staffing, machinery, and all of our labor hours.
Thank you, Director Ryle. All right, is that okay? So Councillor Cretch, please.
Thanks. And through the chair, I had a few questions about the municipal class assessment and some of the results from it. I don't see the assessment here like you would, for instance, in a a larger EA or larger environmental assessment for a brownfield project, for instance. I mean, I've seen lots of environmental assessments with respect to the kinds of projects we do downtown. This is a municipal class environmental assessment. Can you explain the difference and why we don't perhaps see the actual detailed environmental assessment in front of us?
Director Sharma?
Through the chair, I'll let Megan Salvucci answer that question. Thank you.
Megan.
Through the chair, so through the staff report, we're asking council permission to make that report publicly available. So this report, I believe, is about 2,600 pages, and we felt that a simplified summary was probably best at this point. And again, subject to council's approval, that's when we'd make that publicly available, and we have that commenting period should anyone in the public, including councillors, have any concerns with the actual documentation tied to the project. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but my understanding is that through the chair that we're kind of, the approval today is going to allow the commenting period to happen. And maybe there'll be some changes that are technical in nature, but the approval from council for this project to move forward is happening now in advance of the actual environmental assessment being released. Is that my general understanding?
Through the chair, so the approval that we are seeking in this report is to file for notice of completion and to put forward the report for 30-day review.
Yeah, so I know that's exactly what I'm saying. And so barring that 30-day review and there being any reason to stop moving ahead as a result of the 30-day review, then this project will move ahead. Is that my understanding?
Through the chair, Councillor, that is correct.
Right, so the decision point for council, regardless of whether or not we provide some feedback through the review process or not, is really through Public Works, then through council. And today is the first step of that process. But council can't review the environmental assessment until we vote on this report.
Through the chair, that is correct.
I'll just say personally for me, that's a bit of a barrier. I want to be able to understand better what the comments in these charts mean. For instance, I see under Appendix C, evaluation of alternative solutions, phase 2, under natural environment. It says pretty clearly here that this will encourage growth in personal vehicle use, which has negative impact on climate change, right? And so we declare we're not just making a climate priority here, we declared a climate crisis in our city. And so that to me would seem to be a really big and important feature of this. And so also when I'm searching through the report, I'm only seeing the word environmental or climate show up with respect to either council priorities or the name of the assessment itself. So there's not a lot of information here about what exactly those impacts are going to be and how we can measure those impacts as part of our decision. So that's why I'm asking these questions, just to clarify. I suppose I'm trying to understand, I think we all understand what induced demand means here. I think for some people that means different things depending on the industry we're in, primarily the idea of adding more capacity and that, of course, encouraging more vehicle use, which in fact the report seems to say is going to be the case. How did you look at induced demand as part of the environmental assessment? What was the analysis around that? And how can we understand that as part of our decision today?
Director?
Through the chair, Councillor, that is a good question. So if you read the report, through the report, we have a website that has the current Public Information Center material available. This is where we are being transparent and showcasing the methodology that was used behind the selection of the cross-section and why we are doing what we are doing. What also is available is the way the criteria has been calculated and marked. There is currently a website for the EA itself, which has these documents available. There's also additional information that you need that we can provide if there is a request for it. I'll also ask Megan if she has anything to add to it.
Thank you. Through the chair. So yes, so we should have clarified that the entire 2,600 page report is available after this. However, all of the evaluation materials are currently available online for both the alternative solutions and alternative designs. And the public's been able to view that since the applicable public meetings. In terms of your question about induced demand, we do recognize that adding additional lanes can lead to induced demand. However, keeping in mind along Rymal Corridor, it is a significant trucks and goods movement corridor that needs to function regardless of the road design. it also plays a big role in supporting future transit developments. So understanding that when we build a road, that whatever we construct is going to last about 40 years, and there's a really good likelihood that we'll need additional capacity to support all other modes of transportation before the 40 years has come up. This is our opportunity to incorporate it. And alongside the expansion of the lanes, again, it's coming with additional active transportation user safety as well as facilities. So this is a very all-encompassing project beyond the service of personal vehicles. Thank you.
Councillor Crutch, your time's up. You want to go in the second time? Or are you finished?
No, those are my primary questions. If something else really burns that someone else doesn't ask, I'll add myself a second time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor A. Wilson, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just wondering if I can get a clarification. I keep hearing that this is 5 lanes to match what's on the east and the west, and then we can see a detailed kind of example in Appendix B. My question is simple. How many lanes are in Appendix B?
Director?
Through the chair, so currently it's a 5-lane cross-section. One of them is the middle turning lane, and the others are bi-directional.
Thank you. And is the middle lane the same as the middle lane to the east and the west of this chunk of road, or is there a difference with this middle lane? I guess because the diagram says middle lanes, plural, and refers to it as 2 lanes. Is that the function to have 2 there, and how does that kind of compare and contrast? Or we're calling it 1, but it's double wide maybe. Could you just help me understand what that means?
Through the chair to the councillor, the right-of-way cross-section that is presented here is in alignment to the rest of the sections for Rymal Road. So that was the first part of your question. The second, if the middle lane is the 2-way turning lane, what that entails is the lane goes through the corridor, and vehicles on either side have the opportunity to turn using that lane.
Thank you. I guess maybe I can just, which sections of the road, east or west, have a 4-meter center turning lane in both directions? If the purpose is connectivity, I've walked kind of the area, I'm trying to understand it, because my concern is that if we're doing this to line things up, but we add an extra turning lane in the middle, are we not then going to have to add that 6th lane that we're calling, a half of a 5th lane to the east and the west sections to have that parallel dual turning lane when there's only 1 turning lane on either side? So I guess I see a 2-meter turning lane to the west and the east chunks personally, and I might be missing something, but there's a proposal for a 4-meter center lane. I'm just trying to understand why it's a 4-meter proposal and not the 2-meter proposal that seems to be consistent with the east and the west sections.
Director, I don't know if I understand the question. It's a 2 lanes plus a turning lane, right, on either side.
Through the chair to the councillor, so the current configuration shows a 2-way left turn turning lane, which is 4 meters. In the rest of the sections, the current turning lanes are around 5 meters. So this is according to our new guidelines for complete streets and Vision Zero. To reply to the second part of your question is this 1 lane in the middle, or how is it configured? Just to clarify, was that the second part of your question?
Councillor, can you clarify that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand how this lines up as you're traveling west, say, from west of the section, kind of Ward 14, Ward 8 area, and then going in. Our current city OCCI road says that's about 9 meters across 5 lanes. So I don't understand how the middle lane could be 5 meters wide today when our online system is saying the road right of way is 9.2 meters. That's the bit I'm just getting confused on, is the difference between what's on the existing sections to the left and the right and what's being proposed in Appendix B. And I'm just wondering if there can be some clarity with specifically, yes, the 4-meter turn lane. And the bit that I'm confused about is I'm not seeing a 5-meter lane in the middle to the east or the west. I'm seeing a 2-meter lane, and I'm asking about where are those extra meters coming from? How does that impact the plan?
Director.
Thank you, Councillor. I will direct the question to SPN Salvucci, who has worked with the cross-section more closely than I have.
Through the chair, so typically our turning lanes, as long as there's a bus route, I believe the bus minimum widths are 3.1 or 3.2 meters, meaning that a turning lane to support them needs to be at least that wide. This section that we're using for Rymal Road is in compliance with Complete Streets, which actually has reduced lane requirements in order to reduce speeds. So the segments on either end are actually slightly wider than what we're proposing here because they were designed and implemented prior to Complete Streets. So the wording in here with the added S, although it may be confusing, could either be a spelling mistake or refer to at intersections where you're not necessarily going to have a two-way left turn lane at an intersection, but that's what that space would be used for. It would be transitioned to support that intersection movement. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Alex Wilson, are you done?
I'm happy to follow up on this offline between council. I think I'm looking at a cross section of the road outside of the study area to the west, and I'm not seeing a 5-meter center turn lane. That's, I think, we're just not going to close that gap here. If I could ask a second question though, about the S-line piece there and hearing the timeline overlap. I understand that's a further report to come. I am just trying to seek clarity, though, is if we're planning these pieces together, what are the overlaps? Is there a possibility that we would do this expansion and then as a result of the HSR next come in right after and add in another lane as a dedicated bus lane potentially? I know this is similar to Councillor Tassin's question. I guess I'm wondering, why aren't we doing these things more twinned together if they're happening within a matter of years together? It's not one Rymal Road project, or just a little bit of an understanding of how the projects are talking to each other.
Well, who wants to answer that? Director?
I think that is a question everybody is excited to answer on this side of the table.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll start with it and then I can pass along. So talking about the Rymal Road EA itself, so currently through the chair, there are provisions that are made. The study that we completed for S-Line looked at a 30-year horizon on how the ridership and the growth will work. At current, we didn't find that it would be the right time to invest in the infrastructure that would be for the S-Line corridor, and hence we are keeping that space for future use. I'll let Megan add any additional information.
Thank you. Through the chair, we should have added to earlier that we worked on this project with transit. So the transit team was involved through a decision-making process. What we didn't want to do was develop a cross-section that we'd have to go back and reconstruct, because that would be a poor use of resources. So the intersection we are proposing would accommodate any transit needs in the foreseeable future, whether it's 30 years or out. We wanted to provide that flexibility that regardless of whatever transit plans came about, we would be able to fit it within the cross-section. So the current lane widths that are proposed fit transit. The current 5-lane cross-section would complement transit-only lanes. And again, we wouldn't be constructing additional lanes to make it a 7-lane cross-section or a 6-lane cross-section. We would look at converting those 2 exterior lanes to bus-only lanes. We've also, again, updated all of the active transportation facilities to ensure that transit users have those direct connections to where they need to go once they get off the bus or when they're trying to get onto the bus. So the plans we're proposing today are inclusive of any future transit needs that could come down the line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, the answer I heard the first time earlier was that one of the options would be to do it on street. I'm now hearing that, no, it's built to do it on street. I think the difference there is versus we're prepared for anything versus we're prepared for what we anticipate is coming, even though there could still be some differences in what's coming or the final plan's not quite there. Final piece would be just wondering, what are the green infrastructure or low impact development opportunities, specifically as we're having such a long linear pathway, either for habitat in the vegetated space, water infiltration, just wondering what's been considered and when in the process that will come forward in design.
Directors, Sharma?
Through the chair to Councillor, So we have looked at multiple opportunities for planting islands. We also have looked at different opportunities for LIDs. And these options will be further explored during the detailed design process.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Spadafora, please.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. And first off, thanks to staff for the great work on this. And I know from time to time I've been told not to get in the weeds, so I'll try to stay in my spot here and ask questions that maybe I should be asking. I'm not an engineer, so looking forward to it. I know residents in Ward 14 will enjoy to have that full connectivity. You know, there's a small piece coming out of the other section going towards Lancaster, going towards Ward 12 as well. That'll get done in the near future, and I'm excited for that. The one thing, and I don't know who wants to answer, is do we have a policy at the city where we're trying to reduce the amount of cars we put on streets? I keep hearing this, that we're worried about, we can't do this. We're asking more, we're inviting more cars onto our streets. Do we have a policy that are we trying to reduce the amount of cars? Like, are we trying to eliminate cars from our streets? I'm just trying to get some clarification on that, please, Chair.
Who would like to answer that?
Through the chair to the Councillor Carla Alcan, General Manager of Public Works. We don't have a policy that specifically says we want to reduce traffic or cars off the road. We do have policies that we're trying to increase our HSR ridership. We do have policies around active transportation. We do have a complete streets guideline that Council has approved. So we use those things when looking at a project, and as Megan has alluded to earlier, when we construct a road, we go in and we construct it with the view of a 40, 50 year. So the road itself, the actual physical road, whatever comes forward, you know, in my simple way of thinking, being the non-engineer too, is we can always change the lines on the surface of it. We can always grind them out and repaint the lines as needed, narrow it down a little bit, and make those adjustments as we get into the 30, 40, 50 year. The hardest thing is to go in and reconstruct a road in midlife. So hopefully that answers the question. Thank you.
It does. All good things to work through when you're doing this planning, but obviously we can't force people not to drive cars. And as our city continues to grow and has grown as much as it has, we've seen all the congestion in our city, hence the reason for this project to go forward. So that, to me, this is great conversation. But again, I won't get in the weeds because I don't feel that's my job. But looking forward to this project get done. Sounds like it connects with our blast program. Sounds like it connects to moving goods for our businesses and for people to do their shopping. Like, just seems like it's a great project that's overdue, and looking forward to get it done. And again, thank you for staff for bringing this forward, and fully supportive. And I'm sure the councillors that this project cuts through their wards are extremely happy as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Second time speaker, but before, can I turn the chair to Councillor?
Go ahead.
Matt Francis. You know, I'm hearing all this, and I remember 7 years ago going door to door, canvassing. And you know what the number one question? When is this road going to be expanded? Oh, when I get in council, I'm going to make sure. You know, that was 7 years ago. And I know the history that Councillor Jackson was talking about, how long it's really been. It's been a long time. And I remember the first term, Councillor Jackson and I sat with staff saying, we want it done now. We want it now because we know it takes time. Now, 7 years has gone by. It's going to take another, 10 years before it's all completed, or maybe more. So I think it's about time. We talk about economics. We talk about, transportation. I want to tell you, I live near there. And when the link and Stone Church, there's an accident, or even on Stone Church, you can't move in the city. We are stuck. So I just want to make it clear that this is something we need. We need this road expanded. And I want to tell you, when I go back door knocking again, you know what they'll say? Why isn't this road expanded? Because people think, within 3 to 5 years should be. It takes time, but I want to make it clear. We want to expand this road because it's needed. It's needed for many residents that live on that. But I want to ask one question, and it's the multi-use trail. Would that be on, it's for bikes and pedestrian on the sidewalk? Is it like a sidewalk?
Through the chair to councillor, that is correct. It is a multi-use trail on the north side, and it would be encompassing all users. That includes cycling and pedestrians.
Okay. Ward 6, Ward 7, Ward 8 are going to be so happy, and our residents are asking for it, and I think it's about time. So that's my opinion. Thank you. We're going to go to second-time speaker, Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. And first, apologies to Manager Sharma. Previously, I think my brain was combining his first and last names and something came out, so my apologies for that. I recognized it as soon as I said it. Yeah, really helpful discussion. It's been very informative, and some of my questions have been addressed. Vision Zero has been mentioned several times, and I believe it's in the report as well. A couple questions around that. For a street that's designed like this, has been mentioned, is consistent east and west here in the same corridor, what is the speed limit, and then contrast it against the design speed for a road like this that's 56 feet wide in 5 lanes? If I could get that answer first, please.
Through the chair to the councillor, I can refer that to our staff. The current speed limit that RIMO is designed to is 60 kilometers an hour. And that is the design speed. The current speed limit is around that too. I'm not 100% what is the current speed limit, but the design speed is around 60 kilometers an hour.
Okay, thank you. I know that we have all in our wards had problems with speeding, aggressive driving, stunt driving, and we're already based on that answer, the design of the road is faster than we want people to drive, and now we're making it wider. And just if you have any knowledge on this topic, I'm just concerned that making wider roads just makes things more dangerous, which is something we're all considered or concerned about. And so when we're thinking about pedestrians, though, when we talk about a child going to school, say crossing from the southern neighborhood to the north, or an elderly person going to the grocery store, now it's a longer distance to cross. So was that considered? I know there's going to be controlled crosswalks at lights, but have we put thought into those road users?
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, we have looked at intersections and areas where there are need to IPSs and MPS intersection crosswalks. Areas that have designated, that would require designated crosswalks for crossing. It does increase the 5 lanes. It does increase the crossing distance. Councillor, you're correct. But having those facilities in place, having those crosswalks, intersections in place, that will help mitigate some of the safety aspects for it.
Councillor?
Okay, thank you for that answer. There's been several comments and questions around the multi-use path. And what I understand, both what's been said here and in the report, Chair, is that there's one multi-use path on the north side that is for pedestrians and cyclists, which is actually, I think, different than further west, where there's a sidewalk and a multi-use path. So my question, just because this is about a long-term solution, and we have higher density development going in with long-term bike parking. We want to have a modal shift, kind of referencing back to the question that was asked of GM Can. We do want to encourage healthier transportation, less cars on the road. Yet we're now putting pedestrians and cyclists in conflict here, which doesn't seem consistent with complete streets and making it actually a network where we will encourage successfully people to walk and or cycle. So just question, I don't know if that's to Director Hollingworth or who can answer that, but it seems like that's not really the ideal solution here, is to have mixed pedestrian and cycling on one area.
Director Sharma?
Through the chair to the councillor, the reason we chose multi-use path is due to to reduce the impacts on the corridor when it comes to property impacts. When it comes to safety, multi-use pathways have been used widely in the city at different locations. I'm not 100% sure about the collision stats, but they have, we looked at different options. We looked at a separate sidewalk option with a MUP, and what was concluded was having a multi-use pathway that is concurrent for all users would be the best solutions moving forward. I do have Brian Hollingworth online that can provide some insight on multi-use pathways.
Yes, as the banker alluded to, we early days in the planning of the alternatives for this corridor looked at a lot of different options. I think the number one guiding principle here is it has to be an all ages and abilities facility. So, you know, a bike lane with no protection was a non-starter. In terms of the multi-use paths, we have them across the city, and they function well. Cyclists and pedestrians operate in the same space as they will do here. And this corridor, in terms of the land use, lends itself better to a multi-use path than some other options. So I believe it will be safe, and it's not out of the norm.
Director Sharma, you want to add to that, please?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Crissar, we also looked at making the corridor consistent. As you stated, some parts of Rymal already have a multi-use pathway. It does having consistency throughout the corridor helps create a safety factor also, where pedestrians and active cyclist users, they understand where they are used to a multi-use pathway, and to our understanding, it would be easier for them to reconnect to a new multi-use pathway than having a separate bike facility.
Yeah, thank you. And my point was not speaking against multi-use paths at all. I don't want to be misconstrued there. It's just that it's pedestrians and bikes on one area, where further west there is a separate sidewalk beside the multi-use path. That's what I was asking about. But I hear the answers. And just a closing comment, Chair. Obviously, a very important transportation corridor. Whether you're in a car, you're on walking, you're on a bike, or HSR today, high order transit in the future. The goal here, I think, is trying to move people efficiently. In my opinion, as I stated earlier, I think there's different ways that different municipalities have done it better than just expanding. That's what I have an issue with, but do not want to take away from the need of the councillors who this ward's in. Yeah. People need to get through. However, I don't think, not having been here for when this was first project was undertaken, I think there could have been different ways to look at it, but thanks for the time.
Thank you. Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, could someone unpack for me what a Section 16 order means? Through the chair.
Director Sharma?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Wilson, for your question. A Section 16 order is, once we go for the 30-day review period, if any person who has an issue currently with what is stated can apply for a Section 16 order through Ministry of Conservation, Parks and Environment.
Councillor?
Through the chair, if I can add.
Sure.
Yeah, Megan, if you want to join in. Through the chair to the Councillor, Carl Alcan, General Manager of Public Works. Section 16 order request is any member of the public can make that request of the ministry. The ministry, at the end of the consultation period, which is typically the 30-day period, they would evaluate the request, and then they would issue an order to this municipality or the city saying, hey, we need you to go take a further look at that. It typically is a confidential request. It would come through to the ministry. We're just flagging it here that should we receive one, then we have further work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, GM. Councillor Wilson?
Okay, thank you. So I'm just trying to understand that potential opportunity or action with the recommendations as they're enumerated on the report. So I think this is maybe in line with what Councillor Crutch was asking. So the first report, or the first recommendation, beg your pardon, is to authorize and direct you to file the EA study report for 30 days. And then the second report is that at the end of that 30-day period, that you be given, that you will have, therefore, permission to proceed with the preferred design. So I'm wondering, why aren't we just doing one at this point and waiting for further instruction after we maybe get public comment from two? I'm just trying to understand. Maybe I don't understand, through the chair.
Director Sharma?
Actually, through the chair and General Manager Carl Can. The second one really is written there to advance the project as quickly and effectively as possible. If there is a request filed through the ministry and the city receives a copy of that, if it's minimal, we will resolve it. We will move ahead with the project. If it is significant or major in nature, I have the option of bringing a report back to council and one identifying, working with legal, what the Section 16 request was, what was filed, and then seek further direction. But really just to advance the project and to continue to keep our attention on the project, I say pedal to the metal. That's what we included at this point in time. And if I thought that there was a concern or something that should be elevated, I would definitely discuss it with the city manager and legal and bring it forward to this committee. Thank you.
Councillor?
Thank you. I'm trying to put this diplomatically in terms of you may or may not have a concern, but we're putting something out for a 30-day public review period while also coupling it with giving you the pedal to the metal. So we're not awaiting that feedback of people who may have concerns. So I'm just trying to understand from a governing perspective, we're saying we want the public to be able to comment on this, but at the same time, we're saying we're giving direction to go ahead regardless of that comment. To me, those things are not congruent. May I have a comment?
Megan or Sharma?
Through the chair to the councillor. I do want to talk about the process that we undertook for the municipal class EA. So throughout the EA process, there has been 2 public information centers where we discuss the possible solutions. We bring forth different cross sections to public. We receive their feedback, and based on those feedbacks, then we move forward to a solution that is feasible and has been communicated and collaborated on with the community. So that process had taken place for a period of 3 to 4 years in this project. It is a significant, as I started with, it is a significant corridor, so we made sure that no page was unread when it came to public consultation. After those 2 public consultation meetings that we had, the project report, and there's an engagement page that is established on our website where participants and community members can go read on the material that was presented. They can question, they can provide questions. There's a contact information for our project managers that can provide some feedback. So there has been public consultation. The report that's in front of you is a step through the municipal class EA that authorizes us to file the notice of completion and the ESR, which is the environmental study report, with the ministry. Another step in the process, once this report is filed and we haven't received any Section 16 orders, is to proceed with the detailed design.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate you unpacking that detail, but I think what I heard is it's the general manager of Public Works who gets to discern what is relevant or not for this body's review, and not this body directly upon receiving feedback from a public who may or may not have engaged thus far, who may or may not have been paying attention. That's what I'm understanding.
Through the chair, so throughout, as DePonker touched on, there's been significant amounts of public engagement throughout the course of the project.
I understand that. I'm just trying to understand the further opportunities and the role of the public. In A, we're saying we're putting it out for public review, but we're not waiting for that public review to conclude.
So through the chair, this is a minimum requirement as per the environmental assessment process. So they don't actually specify when we need to go to council or if we need to go to council to seek approval to place a pre-approved environmental assessment on 30-day review period. That's what we as a city have adopted, and so that's the process we follow. The assumption from the ministry is that the correct amount of public engagement has taken place, and as discussed earlier, that's an opportunity for a Section 16 order if certain parties feel that they have not been consulted enough. That's an opportunity for them to flag to the ministry that they have significant concerns for the project.
Thank you. But I guess what I'm trying to understand clearly is that the prerogative rests with this body to determine what it wishes to do with respect to the 30-day period.
So through the chair to the councillor, if the committee and council wanted to lift item number 2 and have us report back to committee and council, we're more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
So to do that, we would have to have a vote, whether we want to do that. But, you know, we've been waiting for a long time. I think Councillor Jackson.
Chair, respectfully, I understand your opinion on this, and I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. My comments were seeking insight on the process. If you'd like to comment on your opinion on it, that's
fine.
That's your prerogative.
So we would have to take a vote whether we want to report back or not. So, so we vote on e-vote? Okay, what we're voting, can we put up what we're voting on? A request to bring back the report. Can you please do the motion then, or the request?
My request would be that before we can proceed with 2, we should be enabling the public to comment with a report back on whether we received any comments within 30 days. If something has taken that long, I can't see 30 days being a massive amount of time. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. Can we, everybody's clear? Do you want it on the screen? Can you put it on the screen, please? I can't see it, but it's all right. I can't see it at all. Okay, it's on the screen. Councillor Jackson, did you want to speak on that request, or? Okay, all right.
With any public comments that may have been received within the 30-day period. Thank you.
Okay, it's up there. Public comment. So it's, everybody's, can read that? If everybody okay with that, we're going to vote, or do you want, anybody want to speak to it? I don't see anybody.
I don't have a seconder, so if anybody wishes to second.
Who's the seconder? Councillor Cratch seconded, so I don't have anybody here except, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chair Pauls. I definitely will not be supporting this amendment on point 2. Through you to staff, General Manager Kan or Acting Director Sharma, what you've got before us, both recommendations, is this not normal process? Put aside Rymal Road, if this was anywhere else in the city, maybe in the downtown area, that the community desperately needed to move along because the community has requested this for a long time and all the upgrades that are going to occur. Is this normal process through you, Chair Pauls, please, to Acting Director Sharma?
Director Sharma, acting.
Through the chair to Councillor Jackson, this is the process that have been used, and we use this process for any environmental assessment that we have completed or we complete in the city.
Thank you, Acting Director. I don't understand the reason to stall the item 2. Maybe there's something else that's at play here. I just don't understand when staff, and I got to commend staff.
Point of order.
Okay.
I didn't mention anybody's name. I just said that maybe there's something else.
I'm the mover of the motion.
Okay, I didn't say, I just said maybe there's something else across this whole chamber. Maybe there's something else at play.
Right.
So
what is the
point of order? If it's implied that there's some grand scheme, I just would like to give the public an opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Okay, and you have right to do
My
that.
apologies. My apologies, Councillor Maureen Wilson. It wasn't directed at you. It was just if there was something generally, but I apologize because you are the mover of this referral. So sincere apologies to you. Chair Pauls, honestly, I think we've heard, this has been, I am very impressed, I want to say first of all, with Dipankar Sharma, who's filling in today, by the way, and Senior Project Manager Megan Salvucci. We got some talented people there, regardless. This project obviously has come to the fore, but regardless, I'm incredibly impressed. And secondly, you've heard all of the reasons that have been given. I realize that I, along with my mountain colleagues, have much more, and Ward 11, that borders, have much more intimate knowledge of the project all along, just like some of my lower city colleagues and those in suburban communities would have much greater familiarity with some projects in the heart of their communities and ward. So I've really appreciated all the comments. I'm delighted with the interest of the Rymal Road expansion, Chair Pauls, but this has been, we've been at this 5 or 6 years. Let this 30-day process unfold. The community, as typically, as normally, would have all opportunity to comment. I see no reason why delaying item 2. Thank you, Chair Pauls.
All right, Councillor Beatty, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I've heard that there were, I think, and maybe I could just seek clarification from staff. I think I heard that there were 2 public information centers that were held with regards to this project. Through you, Chair.
Acting Director Sharma?
Through the chair to the council, that is correct. There have been 2 public information centers for this.
Okay. Thank you. So I've heard that there were 2 public information centers. I've heard that we're in the midst of about a 7-year process. I've heard that we're using council-approved directions, policies such as the Complete Streets guidelines. I've heard that we are going through the proper process and trying to invest in infrastructure that's going to enable transit growth, enable active transportation options. This has been, to my mind, it appears anyways, a very public process. And then we still have the 30-day window once this EA is finalized and filed, as I understand it. And I'm big on public input, but I think that it has transpired, and I'm not going to support the motion that's been put forward. I think that everything has been done sufficiently and properly, and ready to see this project conclude.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cratch, please.
Thanks. I appreciate the discussion, and I think it's a huge project, $88 million project. I think what Councillor Maureen Wilson's asking for, and why I seconded the motion, was because looking for a little bit more feedback and a chance for us here to weigh in on some of that public feedback. For a lot of people, and I think I've heard many of my colleagues say this at other moments during this term of council about consultation. For many people, the consultation moment comes sometimes when it comes to public works or a standing committee, then makes its way to council, the media reports on it, and people are made more widely aware of it. And so people suddenly start thinking, wait a minute, I want to be part of this conversation. I want to be part of what's happening here. And they may submit comments. They may not know what a Section 16 order is. There's all kinds of different layers here for people to kind of wade through. One of the things I think is interesting, it says when he talks about Section 16 orders, is talking about if there's been any adverse impact on Aboriginal and treaty rights communities, is what it says in the legislation there. I'm reading right from the website from the province. So there are other kinds of groups here that are part of those considerations. Maybe they're going to have things to say. I think we ought to know if they had things to say before now. So I'm just raising that because, frankly, I'm not really familiar with Section 16 orders until today's meeting and did some Googling and learned a bit about that. Think, hey, if this is something that people want to have more consultation on, we want to hear what people have to say here at this committee before we make a decision, I think it's good. I also think it's good for us to see the entire environmental assessment, have it be out there in the public, and for ourselves to have a look at it before we make any decisions here today. So that allows us to do both of those things. And I think there's nothing else going on except asking for that kind of level of due diligence around an $88 million project. I've seen people here spend more time talking in support of or against projects that are an infinitesimal fraction of that. And so we're talking about something that's a massive investment for our city. I think a little bit more due diligence shouldn't hurt.
Thank you. Councillor Danko, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have no idea what's going on right now. This is bizarre. This is one of the most bizarre discussions we've had this term of council or last term of council. Rival Road has been on the books for decades, people. This isn't something that just came up yesterday. It's been decades. The expansion and completion of this project is the inevitable completion of the mountain road network that was first put in place, I think, in the 50s. So just a roadblock for the sake of a roadblock makes no sense. What do you think the purpose of an environmental assessment is? The purpose is public consultation. We've had years of public consultation. We've had public information meetings. Our office has done outreach to the community to make sure anybody that wanted to have consultation, wanted to have input on this project was available or had that opportunity. Now at the last minute, we're just going to put another roadblock in the way for no reason. Like, honestly, people, what is happening here? So obviously, I am not going to be supporting another delay for no purpose for the sake of this council just to grandstand on a roads project that we want to crap on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Thank you. Who said?
Point of order.
What's a point of order? Okay, Councillor Kretsch, what's the point of order?
Yeah, he's suggesting people are grandstanding because they want to ask for additional community consultation. That's not what's happening here. It's, again,
that's exactly what's happening, Councillor. You are grandstanding right now because this is a roads project that's not in your ward, that you don't care about, that you want to get people, in traffic.
Rule the point of order. Would you, Councillor Pauls, he's continuing to impugn motives and it continues to
Councillor Kretsch and Councillor Danko, we're going to go on the vote, okay? And that's it. Okay, let's go on the Evo, please.
No, this is on Maureen.
Okay. Oh, on the amendment, whether we're going to have a report back, right? It's too late, we called it.
Councillor Alex Wilson.
What about,
Thank you, Chair. Before you called the vote, there was a call for a
called
point
the
of order. I'm requesting that you rule on that point of order before we proceed with the vote.
we called for the vote. And well, the rule is that Councillor Danko has his opinion because he's the part of the councillor that's on the mountain and knows all about that road. He said 50 years. And the last 7 years I've been going door to door talking to people and they said, when's this road going to be done? So he is, I'm going to rule it out and we're going to go for the vote. Thank you. So I can't, what is it? It's 4-9? No, 4-9. Thank you. So it's defeated. All right. So now we're going to go, on the vote for the 9.2 Rymel Road Class Environmental Assessment. We'll vote on that. Yes. Councilor Chatterson, okay. So it passes 11-2. Okay, where am I reading? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 9.3, amendment to solid waste management bylaw 221. Okay, is there any discussion? We will require electronic vote, please. Oh, okay, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Francis, Councillor McMeekin, thank you. And it passes 13-0. Okay. Okay, 9.3. Correspondence from the West Hamilton Builders Association respecting 9.3. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Beattie, Councillor Patterson, thank you. Is there any discussions? Okay, show of hands, please. Okay, everybody, thank you. All right. Motions. 10.1. Councillor Danko, would you please introduce your motion? And do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. Moved by myself and seconded by yourself.
Yes.
And I know you are such a pickleball fan.
I love it.
The resolution is that the replacement of the windscreens at William Connell Park, the pickleball courts be funded from the Ward 8 Capital Reinvestment Reserve, and an upset limit, including contingency, to not exceed $5,000 to be approved, and that the General Manager of Public Works or designate be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all requirements, etc. So basically what this is just replacing the existing windscreens at William Connell Park so that pickleball in the spring and summer, those windscreens were damaged over the winter and they'll be in good shape for the upcoming season. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? I just want to say that I use it a lot, and a lot of people love it there. Actually, you have one of the best parks. The William Connell Park is amazing. I go there often, so congratulations, and thank you for doing that. Okay, electronic vote, please. Thank you, and it passes 13-0. I have, the next one is my motion. Can I pass it to you, Councillor Francis?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please introduce your motion, Councillor Pauls, and your seconder.
Thank you. Yes, my seconder is Councillor Jackson, and I appreciate that. You know, I love parks and I love sidewalks, and now I'm going to do roads. And it's a very needed roads that I think I have, 15 roads that I'm fixing. So I'm just going to do the therefore because it's quite lengthy. So that the public works be authorized and directed to rehabilitate the road and association concrete work as required on East 14th Street, East 16th, 19th, Howe Avenue, Lawfield Drive, Leggett Crescent, Randolph Court, Redmond Driveway, Ruby Street, Rubber Court, Rushdale Drive, Seven Oaks Drive, South Park Avenue, and Vickers Road. That all costs associated with the road resurfacing scope of work be funded from the Ward 7 Capital Reinvestment Reserve, 108057, at an upset limit, including contingency, not to exceed a total of $4,070,000, with design anticipation to commence this work this year and construction to be completed in 2026 for the following roads. I think I read them all before. Okay, East 14th Street, Inch Drive to Fennel Avenue East, East 16th Street, Cali Road to Mohawk Road East, and Vickers Road to North Terminus. East 19th Street, Vickers Road, and Fennel Avenue East. Howe Avenue, Upper Wellington Street to East 18th Street. Lawfield Drive, Burkle Avenue to Mohawk Road East. Leggett Crescent, Limeridge Road East to Limeridge Road East. Randolph Court, South Park Avenue to North Terminus. Redmond Drive, South Church Road East to Rushdale Drive. Ruby Street, Rushdale Drive to Upper Sherman Avenue. Ruber Court, Rushdale Drive to East Terminus. Rushdale Drive, Charing Drive to Ruby Street. Seven Oak Drive, Delavan Crescent to Mohawk Road East, South Park Avenue, Charing Drive to Rushdale Drive, Vickers Road, Jellicoe Court to Upper Wentworth Street, and that the general manager and the city clerk be authorized and directed to execute any requirement agreements and auxiliary documents with such terms and condition in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. Can I say a few words? It's so important for the roads. So we know there's a lot of potholes all around. And I think when my community emails me, I could tell them that that's what we're doing. The area rating that we're providing, the $4 million to redo this, is very important. I've done that with sidewalks, and I'm doing that with all my parks. So I'm proud to present this motion. So hope you can vote for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pauls. Not seeing anyone on the speakers list. We'll take a look around. So at this point, we'll take the electronic vote on this. The vote is up.
And thank you. It passes 13-0. Okay, 11, notice of motion. Is there any notice of motion? I don't see any. No? And 12, adjournment. Show of hands, please. And thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon. And happy Patrick.